deals happening so soon, I was a little surprised.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get into our first topic, though, because we do have breaking news. Sadly, this is not, happening a little bit later, so we could have it on our QB or not to be. But Jimmy Garoppolo, that's the wrong topic. We're going to go through it now very quickly. It's a little hint right there. There we go. Breaking news. Jimmy Garoppolo was signed to the Raiders on a 3-year, $72.75 million contract. $45 million of that is guaranteed. So we were wondering, if Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be sent somewhere because it seemed like his 49ers tenure was basically over. Kyle Shanahan basically said there's no chance, no future that Jimmy G will be a part of the 49ers. There are question marks of whether or not it'd be the Jets, the Raiders, some other team, the Bucks even were in contention maybe. But it turns out to be the Raiders on a 3-year deal, $72.75 million contract. So I just want to know, do you think that Jimmy G would be a good fit in Las Vegas with Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, I do. I do think it would be a good fit, and I think the Raiders got one hell of a deal. I think that's pretty cheap money for somebody who has the record that Jimmy G has. He has had an injury history, but when he's been out there, he's been a winning quarterback. So to get him for 60, I thought you had 70 some odd million, $72.75 million with $45 million guaranteed. If those are the numbers, I'd say the Raiders got a very good deal.
Really?
Just based on what we're seeing others get, look what Daniel Jones got. He got $160 million for 4 years. With how much his was $82 million guaranteed too, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say Jimmy G's every bit the quarterback that Daniel Jones is. Maybe he's older and he doesn't have as many years left, and maybe Daniel Jones still has some upside that we haven't seen yet. But I mean, you look at those two deals, and I'd say the Raiders they got a very good deal. I would say maybe Jimmy G wants to stay on the West Coast. I mean, Las Vegas is not that far from. Well, I guess it's quite a ways from San Francisco, but his family probably lives in San Francisco, right?
So, no, I'm not sure.
So I maybe that had something to do with it. I thought he would command more money than that.
What do you mean? Why do you think he would command more money than what? 20? How much is it? $24 million a year?
That's pretty cheap, right? The way quarterbacks go these days. Who else is making $24 million?
Almost every single quarterback in the league. I think he's I think he has the least amount of money a starting quarterback has in the league right now.
The least amount. That's the least amount of salary.
Yeah, I mean,
lowest salary?
Why do you think Jimmy G is worth more than that?
Because he's been a winning quarterback.
He's not available. He's had two healthy. He has one healthy season.
Other people have injuries too. Look at Lamar Jackson. He's been injured twice now, 2 years in a row. He missed 8 games as a result.
Over 2 years.
Yeah, and their injuries happen to quarterbacks. Right?
Obviously,
there's been a bunch of them that've been hurt.
But when you have one healthy season where you finish it out of the 9 years you played, 9 years you played, and you've only
Super Bowl.
But what about after that? You haven't been healthy a single season.
Yeah. Well, he got him to the NFC Championship game.
I know.
Not last year, the year before.
I'm fully aware, but he's not healthy. That's why they got Trey Lance.
Yeah. But once they got him back that year, he was healthy the rest of the season. He played a lot of the games that year. I don't think it's all about health. Not all about health. It's about talent too. He's got talent. He's a winning quarterback.
I'm not going to deny that he is a winning quarterback.
I think that was a very good deal for the Raiders. Very good deal.
I don't know about very good, but this was interesting because we played this on the show before. This was Josh McDaniels talking about his QB situation. We put this on the show before.
Totally against it. You putting that up?
Yeah, listen to it.
Yeah.
Look, the goal for us eventually is to have somebody that's going to be here for a long time. You see the teams that are having success right now in our league, I would say in our conference, and specifically in our division. They're young players that were drafted by their clubs, and they're being developed there under the same continuity. But the goal eventually is to try to have a young player here that's going to be a Raider for a long time.
That doesn't really sound like he's against Jimmy G.
Well, Jimmy G, they gave him a 3-year deal, so he's not going to be there a long time.
Well, you're
And
gonna.
he's not a really young player, so maybe they did that to
He's
set
31.
up. Maybe they did that to set up the deal, to give him to set low expectations.
He's 31 years old.
Maybe they did that to set up low expectations, and they achieved it. I think that they got a very good deal.
He's 31 years old. I think that's pretty young,
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the
In 3
quarterbacks.
years, he'll be 34. So,
34.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders got a steal. I don't think this is like, oh my God, you only paid $24 million. Yeah, I mean, it's a steal they were desperate. I mean, the Broncos took Jarrett Stidham away from them for 2 years, $10 million. So they had to do something like this, and Jimmy G really hasn't warranted anything besides being paid like the lowest amount. He's not healthy. He's not available. The best ability is availability. And Jimmy G throughout his career hasn't been available.
No.
In 9 years, he's played 74 games.
Okay, well, he sent on the bench the first 3 years.
Okay, first 3 years. Then he comes over to San Francisco, plays 5 games. Right? 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That is what? Was that 4 years? 5 years?
Yeah.
He played 3 games in 2018. He played 1 full season in 2019. And then 2020 to now has not been healthy a single year. So there's 1 full season where we've seen Jimmy G play.
In 21, didn't he take him to the NFC Championship game?
He played 15 games that year.
15. That's not so bad.
Out of 17.
Okay, 15 out of 17. Missed 2 games. It's not much.
Still
and he
not
got him
healthy,
to the
though.
NFC Championship game.
Behind a lot of talent and a great defense.
Yeah, and guess what? He's going to the Raiders, where he's going to have a
No offensive line and no defense. So that's already 2 things the 49ers had that the Raiders don't. Raiders are horrible in cornerback.
the Josh, what's his name?
Josh Jacobs.
They re-signed him.
He's franchise tagged.
Franchise tagged. Okay, so he's got somebody he can hand off to.
Right.
And he has great receivers.
He has no offensive line, which he had. He had a great offensive line when he was in San Francisco, and he had a top 5, top 10 defense each of his years there, which he doesn't have with the Raiders.
Maybe they have to. Well, the defense isn't going to affect him being on, being healthy on the field.
Yes, it is.
The offensive line does, so maybe they can strengthen their offensive line.
The defense has a large impact on what the offense does. Look at Jameis Winston.
No, if the defense stinks, then the offense isn't going to be on the field that much.
They're going to be on the field way more.
No, they're not. The defense stinks. The other team's going to be have the time of possession. They're going to control the time of possession.
If the defense sucks, by the way, if the defense sucks, Jimmy G is not winning a single game. Not a single game. I brought up his opponents. We'll bring that up right now. Is that how many games do you think Jimmy G can honestly win here? Because I have the worst and best scenario. Because I agree with you. The weapons are, you have Hunter Renfrow. You have
okay. Well, let me go down through it.
Okay.
I don't think they'll win the first game.
Well, this is not week by week. These are just opponents.
Oh, road opponents. Okay.
Because the schedule comes out in May.
Well, I don't think they'll beat Kansas City.
I think
they may split with the Broncos. Okay, that's 1. I think they could split with the Chargers. That's 2. I think they could beat the Lions. That's 3. They could beat Chicago twice. No, they play them once. That's 4. I think they can beat the Colts. That's 5. They probably lose to Miami and Buffalo. They might be able to beat the Patriots.
They're gonna whoop the Patriots.
I don't know about that.
1,000%.
But maybe that's 6. The Jets they could beat. That's 7. Depending on who the Jets have for a quarterback, we'll see. Green Bay they can beat because Green Bay is probably going to go with the young quarterback.
Well, then you have Rodgers on the Jets.
Minnesota they can beat, and I'd say between the Steelers and New York, they'd win 1 out of 2. That's 10 wins.
So you're saying that you think is that the best?
Possibly they could win 10 games. Yeah.
So possibly. So I went through it. They're not going to beat the Chiefs either time. I think each Denver game's a toss-up because I believe Russell Wilson. This is more of a trend, not a blip. So who knows what'll happen in those games? The Chargers have a problem with running the ball, rushing defense, and Austin Eckler wants out of Los Angeles. That broke today that Austin Eckler was looking for a trade. So Justin Herbert won't have that talent added to his team. So that could seriously affect how the Chargers offense works. But the Chargers defense had a problem with rushing defense, which is what I guarantee you the Raiders will probably do. The Lions had the 32nd ranked defense. They're probably going to stack on defense right now. So that could be a toss up depending on how everything works. The Bears, I don't know how well they're going to do with DJ Moore and everything like that. Their defense could be really good. They've been adding pieces already, so who knows? Was that they're an unknown, so they're a could be. I think they could beat the Colts regardless of who they have. The Dolphins and Bills, I agree with you. They're not beating a single time. Patriots, I think they could beat Jets depending on the quarterback. Let's say Rodgers is there, then it's a toss-up. If it's, I don't know, Zach Wilson, I'll give the Raiders the win. Packers, depending on who it is, Rodgers or it's Jordan Love. If it's Jordan Love, I'll give them the win. If it's Rodgers, again, toss-up. Vikings, the Vikings are not going to go 11-0 in one-score games. I think they're regressing, so I think the Raiders could win that. I think they could beat the Steelers, and I think they could beat the Giants. So worst case scenario, they go 6-11. Best case scenario, they go 13-3.
Best case 13-3. That's a pretty big difference, right?
Well,
between 6-11 and 13-3.
Oh, 13-4. Sorry, because it's a 17-game series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that in every single scenario.
So that's a 9-game difference. It's a pretty wide
well, because
range.
I have a lot of these as toss-ups because I don't know how they're going to do it. The Chargers rush defense was horrible last year. If you had Josh Jacobs, you had another running back maybe. You know, who knows? Who knows how that offense is going to work, or who knows what that defense is going to hold up?
In the skill positions, they have very good talent, right?
The Raiders?
Yeah.
I know. They have Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and they have Devontae Adams. Same people that Derek Carr had.
And an elite running back.
Josh Jacobs. I know. But
and Jimmy G, I think he's he's a more than serviceable quarterback.
Would you take Jimmy G over Derek Carr?
With Josh McDaniels as the coach, yes.
You would take Jimmy G
over Derek Carr.
Well,
no.
Derek Carr had Josh McDaniels last year.
No, but I'm just saying that Jimmy G, I think, is a better complement to the coaching style of Josh McDaniels. I think those two will click better than Carr did with McDaniels.
Who has more talent, Jimmy G or Derek Carr? This is not a question. Not a question.
Probably Carr. I'd give him a little bit of an edge.
I think it's a little bit more than a little bit of an edge. I love Derek Carr and
Derek Carr got a great contract.
$37.5 million.
Yeah, that's a lot more than 24.
Yeah, but here's the difference though: the Saints could actually be in contention to win the NFC South. The Raiders with Jimmy G are going to be last in the AFC West.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
You think Jimmy G could outperform a Russell Wilson, even though I think it's a trend, not a blip?
Look at Russell Wilson stunk last year.
Bad take. Yeah, but then he has a new head coach, which is Sean Payton.
That doesn't mean Sean Payton isn't out there on the field making the plays.
What if I said that about Bill Belichick? You know, what if I say that, you know what, Mac Jones, who knows what Mac Jones is? Mac Jones can't be bad. He has Bill Belichick. Belichick ain't on the field. Like, no, it's a bad comparison. So Russell Wilson, even though I think it's a trend, not a blip of him performing badly, it's between Russell Wilson and Jimmy G, and I take Russell Wilson. Mahomes or Herbert?
No, Herbert, I think that in the Chargers, that's a shaky operation there.
What?
Shaky.
How is it shaky?
They didn't play that well last year.
They made the playoffs.
Yeah, but they didn't go very far, right? They lost the first game. And during the season, they just barely got in.
They went 10-7.
Their coach is.
They were the sixth seed.
Yeah,
they didn't barely make it in.
Yeah, well,
the Dolphins barely made it in.
Yeah, well, I think the Chargers are a beatable team. They will be this year.
How? What do you see that could do that?
Just the way they played this past year.
They got Khalil Mack. They got Joey Bosa. They got Derwin James.
They didn't dominate.
J.C. Jackson's coming back from injury. I think that's a bad take. And then the Chiefs, you ain't beating the Chiefs.
I didn't say they were beating the Chiefs.
I'm just saying. So yeah, the Raiders are the worst team right now with Jimmy G leading that helm. Yeah, they have a worse defense than any one of these teams. They have probably, although the Denver O-line was really bad, they just shored that up now today. I believe they got a left tackle. You're shoring up the offensive line. So I think right now the Raiders' offensive line is the worst in this division.
Yeah.
So this is where, first of all, Josh McDaniels is banking on having the connection work between him and Jimmy G. Okay. This is his coaching career right now. If he can make it work with Jimmy G, he's going to stay as the Raiders head coach for I don't know how many years, play out his contract. If they start off 0-5, Josh McDaniels is gone. Maybe even if it's 0-4, Josh McDaniels is gone. It's going to be a repeat of him with the Broncos. He wanted Tim Tebow. He got Tim Tebow. He won a lot of games with Tim Tebow's first year. The next year, he got fired. What? Not even halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So this is Josh McDaniels' coaching career right here to see if the connection could work.
You asked if it was a good fit. I think it is a good fit, and I think the Raiders got a good deal. So
I just think you had no other choice. Like, who else?
There isn't many.
You could draft a quarterback, but the question is Josh McDaniels going to draft a quarterback? He might. What pick? I'm not sure what pick they have, but they have a pretty high draft pick.
Yeah, maybe they will.
But then why would you bring in Jimmy G for 3 years? Because the before this came out, the Texans were reportedly interested in him.
No, probably they won't then. I don't think they will draft a quarterback. They'll probably try to shore up the offensive line or the defensive line.
That could very well be, but here's the thing though: is Jimmy G? So let's say they do draft a quarterback. It's just going to be with what the Texans wanted. The Texans were interested in Jimmy G at the bridge.
They don't have a backup quarterback right now, right? Because
Jarrett Stidham's gone.
Stidham went.
Yes. So they need some sort of quarterback, and I think it'll depend on who they bring in, because right now Case Keenum got picked up. It was an interesting. Oh, and also I want to bring this up because
who got Case Keenum?
I'll look at it right now. I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but I'll figure it out here. Here's something that's interesting. So what broke about an hour ago is that Sam Darnold signed with the 49ers.
That's interesting.
Now it looks like this team is going to go from Jimmy G to Trey Lance for a very, very quick second, back to Jimmy G to Brock Purdy, who got hurt, who got surgery like a couple days ago. Now I think there's a decent chance they start Sam Darnold week 1. Think about that. You went from Jimmy G to Trey Lance, who's played 4 games and completes under 50% of his throws. Then you go up and play Brock Purdy, who has a Cinderella type of a season, gets hurt against the Eagles. Now you're in a position because they said they're going to look at the veteran QB market. You're going to go out and you sign Sam Darnold to potentially be your QB1 to start the year.
I think they look at him more as insurance, right?
So you're thinking that they're banking on Brock Purdy being healthy or Trey Lance being healthy for week 1.
I think so.
And that Sam Darnold is what the Josh Johnson was this season of being a third string, just sitting there.
Yeah, that's what I think.
This is a weird situation.
What do you think? What do you think they're going to
also, we're going to get into it.
They're going to start Sam Darnold? Well, I don't think so.
I mean, you have to if no other quarterback is healthy.
No other quarterbacks are available, but then that's what.
And I guarantee
what
you,
trying to do. They wanted to get a veteran quarterback. They got one.
I guarantee you, if Sam Darnold starts week 1, I think that you're going to start off. Let's say Brock Purdy can't go. There's a setback, God forbid, or he's just not 100% for 3 weeks. And Trey Lance, for some reason, they don't feel like he could go. Still needs to develop a little bit. You're going to go 0-3. I don't care what your schedule says. The 49ers will go 0-3 with Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback. Sam Darnold this past year was absolutely horrible. Horrible. By the way, Pro Football Focus listed their top 202 free agents. Sam Darnold didn't crack 202. Baker Mayfield was on the... He was about 108 on the... We're going to talk about Baker Mayfield a little bit later. But Baker Mayfield was about midway through. He's about 108 out of 202. Sam Darnold didn't even make the list at 202. Last season, 58.6% completion percentage, 1,000 yards in 6 games, 7-3 touchdown interception ratio, 8.2 yards per attempt. 58.6%. 58.6% completion percentage.
Now, who else are they going to get? They were looking
Baker Mayfield. Apparently, they were looking at Baker Mayfield, and they decided to go with Sam Darnold. You got Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston could have been a decent option there.
I think Jameis Winston would have been a better option than Darnold.
Then who else you got? You got Andy Dalton. You don't like Andy Dalton.
He might be good in that. You know what? Almost anyone can be good in that offense. They have so much talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't make the quarterback do too many fancy things there. It's
a very basic offense.
Basic offense.
That's why Jimmy G performed very well there.
Short passing game. So, I don't know. Maybe Andy Dalton could have been I'm surprised Darnold was the guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Aren't you? Are you surprised that they picked Darnold?
Oh, yeah. I mean.
I don't know. Maybe they got him for next to nothing. Like that could be too.
It's weird, yeah. The actual contract details didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to find how much they paid for him.
Deal.
I can't find how much they actually paid for Sam Darnold, but I don't know. Jimmy G to the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh McDaniels is banking hard on that connection working between him and Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's move on to our next topic. We're talking about Kyler Murray because a former teammate of Kyler Murray, not only one, this one is more recent when it comes to the comments made by former teammates of Kyler Murray. Originally, Patrick Peterson, who was a cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals, talked about Kyler Murray and says, Kyler Murray don't care about nobody but Kyler Murray. That's just a matter of fact. And then it came out a few days ago, actually, that a former offensive lineman, Kelvin Beachum, who protected Murray during the 2020 season, he says, quote, he has all the tools, man. He could throw it off one leg. He could throw it a mile. He can run faster than anybody on the field. I didn't say he lacks leadership. I just think he needs to grow up a little. I think if he has the ability and willingness to grow up, he's going to be just fine. They paid him for a reason. They paid him because of his talent. He has the ability to lead. It's just when you're in that position, we need you to lead more. So I want to know, what's your reaction to what a couple players have been saying about Kyler Murray, and are you surprised that former teammates would actually speak out about what they think of their of the Arizona Cardinals quarterback?
I'm a little surprised that teammates would, diss one of their teammates, but I'm not surprised by some negative comments, as we saw when he signed his contract and had that language in there,
right?
About you got to watch film for 4 hours a week, so that makes you think that he's not taking things as serious as he should. He got all upset about that. They took that out of his contract. He didn't get along with the Kingsbury after that. They fired Kingsbury. He's still there, and I agree with that player. He needs to grow up a little.
I mean, yeah, the fact that you signed your name on a contract that said you basically had a homework clause, so you need to watch 4 hours of film per week outside of the facility, and you signed to an esports team, and you're well known. That's why I call him Call of Duty Kyler. I actually haven't seen that name. I'm indirectly copywriting that title. I have not seen Call of Duty Kyler anywhere, so I'm taking that name. Wow. But it's just very weird. You put your name to paper that basically said that I don't watch enough film and I need to watch more film.
And then complain about it. I mean, he signed a contract. He got a huge contract. He should have just kept his mouth shut. I don't know why he was... he signed the contract. He knew what it said.
Right.
Then I think he was just embarrassed by it came out and other people heard about it. That's when he started complaining about it, and they took it out. I don't think they should have taken it out. I mean, they caved to him. I think they've made a lot of mistakes, the leadership there, the Cardinals, going along with his complaints and things and basically, cowering to him. I think that's a mistake. They shouldn't do that.
Well, who knows that maybe they just took it out, but still said, hey, Kyler, we expect you to still do this. Maybe it was just for a public awareness, him basically saying, or Cliff Kingsbury saying, yeah, we're going to publicly take it out, but you still have to do this or else there's going to be problems. And maybe Kyler Murray didn't like that.
I would say if you take it out of the contract, then you don't have to do it. That doesn't make sense. If you say to somebody, okay, we had it in the contract, you don't like it, okay, we'll take it out, but you still have to do it, then if I said, okay, sure, I'm going to do it, then I wouldn't. And what are they going to do about it? It's not my contract. They can't do anything about it.
Right.
So I don't know. I think they cower to him, and that's a mistake.
Well, the organization now.
Who's he going to throw to? Who's he going to be throwing to now? They got Hopkins isn't going to be there anymore.
Nope, he looks like he's going to get traded.
Yeah. So who are they? Who are they going to?
JJ Watt's gone. They got I think Hollywood Brown.
I'd say they're in last place in that division this year.
I think they could be going for the number one pick. This is what I said though, because Kyler Murray he's not going to be there for half the season because he tore his ACL late in the year. So
they're a last place team.
And not only last place, like I said, I think they go for the number one pick and pick up Caleb Williams. Like that's what I said a couple weeks ago. I said the perfect thing for Arizona to do because Kyler Murray, I think, had such a weird fall off. He's too scared to run the football now, and we saw that in the Rams playoff game. He just was too scared to run the ball and get hit. And now in the Patriots game, right, it didn't look like he actually committed to that run.
He didn't get hit.
No, yeah, it was a non-contact injury, but it didn't even look like he wanted to engage in him running the ball. He kind of didn't come out with a burst. He kind of was just hesitant on where he was going to go, and then he tore his ACL. And now and this is the thing with Kyler. It's a mental thing. He doesn't want to run the ball. You're a mobile quarterback. You literally you're one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league right now. That you're a two-way player, and you are basically I guess it's a mental thing because you're physically gifted in being able to run the ball. Your mental side of it, though, is saying, I'm scared to get hit. I don't want to get hit. And to be fair, you got guys who are 250, 300 pounds running at you to tackle you. I don't know how many people volunteer to do that. But still, though, you are a two-way player. They paid you large sums of money for not only your ability to throw the ball, but also to run the ball. That was your big thing. And you won the first battle. You got Cliff Kingsbury fired. I guarantee you, the next time you screw up, or you don't perform at a level that they expect you to, you're the next one gone. It ain't going to be another coach.
You know what?
It ain't going to be a GM. It's going to be you.
But next year it's going to be hard to tell because he isn't going to show up there until probably November.
Right.
And then they're going to say, well, he's rusty and, he's coming back from an ACL. A lot of quarterbacks have a hard time with that. It takes them 7 or 8 games to really get back into the groove. And by then the season will be over. So he's definitely going to have another season after this next one. I think, and he's in his contract, so I think he's safe there for 2 more years anyway because he will barely perform. Well, he'll get back there in November, and if he performs poorly, they can blame the injury, and then it'll be the next year that they'll really have to evaluate him.
Well, they did get a new head coach, Jonathan Gannon, who I believe was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles last year, and if we take a look at how the Eagles defense played in big games, take a look at the Super Bowl. They were sort of exposed. I mean, Mahomes just ran up and down the field throwing to TikTok star Juju Smith-Schuster, and Packers, I don't know, they just dropped Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They thought he wasn't worth nothing. They didn't even want him. They got rid of him. That's who Mahomes was throwing to.
And Travis Kelce.
And Travis Kelce, yeah, who I thought should have been MVP, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was throwing it to those guys. So you have a brand new head coach with Kyler Murray coming back from an ACL. I haven't heard anything about a potential quarterback move to, I don't know, replace an injured Kyler Murray for the time being. They got David Bloch, I guess they could bring back, or maybe still the contract with them.
They were playing some guys I'd never heard of.
They got
before.
Trace McSorley, former Ravens legend.
What about Colt McCoy? Is
Colt
he
McCoy
still around there?
I don't know what's going on with that. Hey, bring in. You got Jameis Winston out there. You got a Baker Mayfield. You got an Andy
Mayfield,
Dalton.
not now. Well, I thought Baker Mayfield has not been signed yet.
No,
right?
he's still a free agent. But you know what? Bring the Red Rifle into a team that is, I don't know, red. Make it some sort of cool thing there. Hype up a team that's probably going for the number 1 overall pick. Yeah. Create some sort of
those
buzz.
guys are going to land somewhere. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
I
the
think
thing.
Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston might not be a bad choice. I think that guy deserves another chance. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of talent.
Season.
He never really got much of a chance with the Saints.
What do you mean?
He was hurt. He got hurt for a lot of the time he was there. And then once he was ready to go back in, they didn't put him in. They didn't give him a chance.
Because he was terrible when he was in there.
Yeah. He didn't really play much before he got hurt. And then when he got healthy, they didn't put him back in. So I don't think he got
Andy Dalton was a better option for them. He played, ready for this.
Andy Dalton, come on.
Andy Dalton played better. First of all, Andy Dalton beat up on the Eagles. Andy Dalton beat the Eagles. Let's put that out there for a second. But Jameis Winston, this season, he played 3 games. Yeah. 3 games for the Saints. Had 63.5% completion percentage.
That's not too bad.
That's not good. Let's be real. That's not good.
Not bad either.
It's not good. 858 yards in 3 games. That's what? About a little over 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
Not great. 4 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. That's not good. You have more interceptions than touchdowns. So that's not good.
The problem with him is the interceptions. I agree with that.
He had a QBR scale of 0 to 100 of 32.7.
Yeah, that's not good.
Passer rating of 79.5.
I think 3 games is a small sample.
Well, he also played 7 games last season, went 5-2, 59% completion percentage, 1,100 yards, 14 to 3 touchdown interception ratio.
That's not bad.
He was better last season.
He was 5-2 too.
He was
That's
5-2.
pretty good.
He comes into this season and he goes back. Apparently, I think I was told he got LASIK eye surgery this past offseason, and it looked like he needs to get another round of that because he was especially in that Bucks game. That was a weird. I think he threw 3 interceptions in that game. I was like, "What are you doing?" Like that's the old Jameis Winston there.
Yeah.
So I
don't know.
I'm not sure.
I still think he should get a chance. Yeah.
I'm not going to trust Jameis
There's some
Winston
teams
much.
out there that could pick him up and give him a try.
If you think the Cardinals are a good option for him,
Why not? I mean, if he's
who they got? They got Hollywood Brown.
If it's terrible, if he's terrible, then they're waiting for Murray to come back. He'll be back in November.
So what? You just want to hurt yourself until Kyler
Well,
Murray
but
gets
you
there?
just said they should tank so they get the best pick in the subsequent draft.
You can't officially tank, but I think it's a good idea. To, because I don't think.
Then what would you care if they went with Jameis Winston? It would be okay.
You at least want to be respectable.
Well, then who else are they going to pick up?
Like,
they got the other
here's the
guys with
thing.
no names.
Here's the thing. The Texans have the number 2 pick, right? They were going for the number 1 pick throughout the year. They put up a couple decent fights throughout the year. They were at least a respectable, horrible team. Like they weren't losing by 25, 20 points a game. Think about it. They went toe-to-toe with the number of teams. I think they almost beat the Cowboys late in the year. So they were a respectable trash team. You have teams like, Denver, who had high expectations, completely, nowhere near live up to those high expectations. The Colts, I think, had high expectations because you replaced Carson Wentz, who nobody liked, it seemed, to Matt Ryan, who was, a smarter quarterback than Carson Wentz. And it turned out not to work really well. So I think, you got to be at least respectable here. Arizona went 4-13 with Kyler Murray playing a majority of the games. What are you going to do with David Blau, Colt McCoy, or Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, a free agent quarterback? What are you going to do with a quarterback like that? Do you want to perform poorly? Because I'm saying, right, if you go to Thanksgiving, that's what, week 8 or 9, maybe 10. You go in there. What's your goal, right? Like, for instance, let's say they stick with, what quarterback do you want the Cardinals to have week 1? Any free agent or, anyone who was on the roster last year.
Go with Jameis Winston.
So you go with Jameis Winston. Realistically, I don't have the opponents in front of me. What do you think their record is out of 8 weeks? Realistically, with Jameis Winston and the team as it's constructed right now, Hollywood Brown, I believe Zach Ertz is still on the team. I don't know. I think Rondale Moore's not there, but I could be wrong. He may still be there.
Don't they have a decent running back?
They got what? What's his name? James Conner, I believe.
Yeah. He's not bad.
He's all right. So realistically,
on defense, they have a few players, right?
Who? Nobody. You got what? I think Buda Baker's there, but I think that's really it. Oh, what's his name? They drafted Isaiah Simmons, I think his name is. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but realistically, throughout 8 weeks, Jameis Winston on that team.
Yeah.
How many wins you think they're getting?
Maybe they could go 4-4.
You think they break even?
I don't know. They have. They're in a tough division, but who knows? The Rams may not be anything.
Well, the Rams are going all in on offense. That was reportedly one of Sean McVay's
things. Ramsey go.
Yeah, because they're going all in on offense.
Well, that means the defense is going to stink.
Right, so they're just banking on Matthew Stafford and like Cooper Kupp and all of them to try to score as many points as humanly possible. So that's what they. But still, though, I think they could win 2 games. I'll cut you in half. They go 2-6 with Jameis Winston as their quarterback. Because I think with the way the team
we don't know what their schedule is. I mean, they may be playing Atlanta and the Panthers and some of those teams.
Well, the Panthers getting a brand new quarterback.
The Texans,
Panthers, they're all getting new quarterbacks.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. It's going to take those guys a while to get going, and the Panthers may be going with a rookie.
I think they're definitely going with. There's a reason they traded the number 1. They are going with a rookie. And supposedly, there's a report that's saying that Frank Reich really likes Anthony Richardson, a guy we each thought wasn't a number 1 pick overall.
I had him the 4th quarterback being picked.
Right. And I mean, he was, what? I think the early reports were early 2nd, late 1st, and now they're all the way up to number 1, apparently.
Anthony Richardson?
I just said that, yeah. That there's a report out that Frank Reich really likes Anthony Richardson. Wow. And Frank Reich, let's just quickly check, is the head coach of the Panthers. So I think there's a decent shot. A guy who was supposed to be the 4th quarterback picked, gets picked first just because one coach likes him. it's gonna be a weird draft. I'm not sure. I would still go C.J. Stroud personally, but who knows? But still to come, the Buccaneers are still looking for Tom Brady's replacement, and it may come in the name of Baker Mayfield. And we rank our top 5 NBA players that are under the most pressure heading into this year's postseason. We talk about that right after this.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast. You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a ready on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic because we are talking about Baker Mayfield. It's been a while since we talked a little bit about Baker Mayfield, but reportedly, as I predicted, and I think a couple weeks ago, actually, I just felt, it could be a good opportunity and an interesting situation. Baker Mayfield, supposedly the Bucs are reportedly going to talk to Baker Mayfield and hopefully bring him in as their veteran starting quarterback potentially, and at least create a QB competition for their second round pick in 2021, Kyle Trask. Maybe create some quarterback competition. Maybe Kyle Trask is better than Baker Mayfield. Who knows? But do you think if the Bucs do sign Baker Mayfield, do you think he would be a viable option for them at the quarterback position?
Mm-hmm. I do, and I think they'll wind up in last place in their division this year.
So you think he's a good pick, but they're going to be last?
I think he's a viable pick. You asked if he was a viable pick. Sure, he played a lot of NFL football. He's been a starting quarterback in several places, and he's had mixed success. So, yeah, I think he's worth a shot. But I think that they're going to wind up in last place because I think they changed all their coaching staff. And I like Todd Bowles, but I don't think he's the right guy to be a head coach.
So you think that are you saying that, another, let's say, I don't know, they can't really draft a quarterback, but any other option, Andy Dalton, you think that would improve their chances? Or even bringing back Jameis Winston?
They're never going to bring back Jameis Winston, right? That's just not going to happen.
Maybe they will, who knows?
But I think that Andy Dalton, I think Baker Mayfield's a little bit better than him.
And Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton kept his starting job. Baker Mayfield didn't.
Well, Baker Mayfield, he got off to a bad start with the Panthers, and he just didn't recover from it. When he got to the Rams, he played okay.
He had one good game.
Yeah,
one good game, and it was just because I don't know. The Raiders were just a weird team last year. They were supposed to be really, really good, and then everything just came crumbling down for some strange reason. But
yeah,
I think because I was a big supporter of Baker Mayfield heading into the season, and I just felt so, I'm not even going to say betrayed. I'm just going to say disappointed. Because I had a lot of faith. When the Browns first drafted Baker Mayfield, and they ended up, I guess, the first game where they didn't lose in 2 seasons was a tie against the Jets. And I found that so hilarious that it was against the Jets, because I have a number of friends who are Jets fans, that a team that just went 0-16, you draft Baker Mayfield. I think they lost, their first 2 games or something like that. You go up against the Jets and you tie with them, and that's their first non-loss. I don't know. I had a lot of hope in Baker Mayfield to really, repair things in Cleveland.
he had some good games in Cleveland.
He did have a couple good games, but then
He got them to the playoffs. They did, and they won a playoff game, I believe, right?
They did, yeah.
And the
the
second one
Steelers.
they could have won if the coaches hadn't made such blunders there near the end of the game.
It was more Chad Henne 14-yard run. I wouldn't put that against the coaches. I'd put that.
I don't know.
against the
I didn't
players.
think but they had the ball and they were driving and they got too conservative. I do think the coaches had a factor in losing that playoff game.
I don't know. They held the Chiefs to, I think it was 16 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, whatever.
So
it was a long time ago now.
I think the coaches did their job that year. But Baker Mayfield sort of got, it was 22 to 17. That was the game. So I think holding Patrick Mahomes to 22 points is pretty impressive. And Mahomes even got hurt in that game too. But I think when you take a look at it, Baker Mayfield, he had his chance in Carolina to right the wrong in Cleveland. He sort of got, screwed over in the first game with a couple bad coaching calls at the end of that game. And then he just didn't play well. I think through the first, I think he played started 5 or 6 games in a row. He led the league in passes batted down until like week 15, 16. So that just shows you that, he's a smaller quarterback. He gets his passes batted down easily. And I think, the Bucs just released Donovan Smith, their left tackle, who was, I believe, the most penalized player in the league last year. So you have an opening at left tackle, but it looks like Tristan Wirfs is going to move from right to left tackle. Who knows if that'll turn out okay? We'll have to see in the season. But, I think you bring in Baker Mayfield, who I think was very promising. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2018, and he hasn't really lived up to it. So we're going to have to see whether or not Baker Mayfield could really, do some damage here. And I think with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, you have Rachaad White. It looks like you're going to get off Leonard Fournette to clear up some cap space, but who knows? They may keep him. It just looks like, or I guess that actually they were supposed to release him. There was a report out that they're planning on releasing Leonard Fournette. I guess they haven't so far.
Yeah.
I guess it'll be Wednesday when they finally do that, when the league's new year actually comes around. But you have Rachaad White, who seemed to be a pretty good running back for them. They're still the 32nd ranked running team. And think about that. Baker Mayfield excelled when they had a phenomenal running attack with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. He's going from his best time playing, which was with a great running game, and even with the Rams and the Panthers. Some of his best games were when the rushing attack was better than the passing attack.
Yeah.
And now you're going to
That
a team
isn't going to happen.
that
in
was
the
just
Bucs.
ranked the 32nd running
They
team
were
in the league.
throwing the ball 50 times a game.
Well, that's because they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they chose to pass it; they had to. So he's going from he's not. I don't think. He should perform fine because you have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, you have Russell Gage. You should perform great. But we're talking about a guy who isn't really. I had a lot of hopes for Baker Mayfield, and he's nowhere near lived up to those expectations, especially being the number 1 overall pick. So I'm not too sure that this would work out, because you have Todd Bowles, who I think is a very, very good defensive coordinator, and it's just we saw last year with Tom Brady, the head coaching thing didn't really work out. The running game could never get started. The defense it had such a bad drop off. especially the rushing defense. That was their claim to fame on defense was, teams could try to run the ball. They're going to fail instantly. They had a top 3 rushing defense. Take out last year, it was like the previous 3-4 seasons. Last year, I think they were like, the 14th best rushing defense? They couldn't get anything going. So, with Todd Bowles as a head coach, I'm not too sure if that would work very well. Honestly, have him stay in Los Angeles. Him and Sean McVay, I think, would work out pretty well. And Matt Stafford looks like he may not be, healthy. He was dealing with that elbow thing that was weird.
Yeah.
That seemed to be a lingering injury. So who knows if he's going to be 100% even heading into this season?
Well, who do the Rams have as their backup quarterback right now?
No one good. I think John Wolford still there?
Yeah, maybe.
So, I think Baker Mayfield's better than John Wolford.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield may want a starting job. He may want to think that.
I think every quarterback wants a
my
starting job. The question is, did you earn it?
Yeah, well, the chances of earning it probably are better in Tampa Bay than they are against Matthew Stafford.
I completely
Unless
agree with
Stafford
you.
is hurt.
Well, my point. We don't know if Stafford could stay healthy because I think that elbow injury, the report was it's a very weird injury.
Yeah.
And generally quarterbacks don't get it and it could linger. And who knows if Matthew Stafford's going to be 100% healthy throughout next season because they're going all offense.
Nobody knows.
They're going all offense. They didn't have a great rushing attack last season. Their offensive line was abysmal. You had Cooper Kupp who was hurt. Allen Robinson, you talk about underperforming. He was basically like they didn't even have another. It's like they didn't even pick him up. He wasn't even that good.
Yeah.
So you look with like Van Jefferson, and I couldn't even pronounce that guy. Last name starts with an S. I couldn't even pronounce his name. But we had that one, weird showing. Baker Mayfield, like 50 hours with the team, and you come back against the Raiders. That was your great shining moment. But after that, you weren't really all great. So go to the Bucs, and because you know what, I think it'll be like I said a couple weeks ago. I think it'll be very interesting to see what Baker Mayfield does with Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, and Mike Evans. But then once again, the rushing attack. I don't know. I'm not going to trust Baker Mayfield really. I trusted him twice, and he's failed me twice.
Well,
so we're gonna have to see.
Okay. Well, I do think that the Bucs are going to be in last place in that division this year.
I don't know if they could. Atlanta's stacking up on tight ends. They just got Jonnu Smith for a 7th round pick. I think that's a bad decision.
I'm not sure
bad
they got
decision
much.
Hey. I think the Patriots didn't know how to use him, so they at least got something out of it because I don't know.
Maybe you should make him a running back.
No. And then what? You also got Carolina, who's drafting a rookie.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're going to be any good. You think the Cardinals with Jameis Winston could beat up on the Panthers?
The Panthers had decent defense last year.
They did have a decent defense. Yeah. So,
I thought that they should have given the coaching job to the interim guy.
Steve Wilkes. I completely agree with you.
Where did he wind up? Where's he?
I'm not too sure actually. I know he did sign with somebody. Steve Wilkes is currently the DC of the 49ers.
Okay. So that's not bad.
Not a head coaching job, but I think that's still a very, very good job.
It is a good job.
You just signed Hargrave, the defensive tackle, I believe, from the Eagles. I think he had, double-digit sacks last season? Yeah. So you're adding a great piece to that defensive line. The 49ers right now, if we're going just strictly down the line with talent, I'm taking the totality even without a quarterback.
No.
The totality of the talent on that team is better than anyone else in the league. The Eagles, all their players are gone. Slay requested a trade. C.J. Gardner-Johnson seems like he's out. James Bradbury's out. They lost Hargrave. They're losing a bunch of their players. A bunch of their coaches are also gone. So the Eagles were maybe the most talented team. They're gone. Buffalo, they might lose some people. The Chiefs, their receivers are not as good as the... you're going to put Juju Smith or Brandon Ayuk up against Deebo Samuel? Or who else? They got Jennings. They got... what's his name? Did I say Ayuk? You got Ayuk? I would put Ayuk over MVS. Juju, I don't know. It's close comp. But then you got Deebo. Deebo could beat out Juju. So... I think, we go down the line. If you list off how many players...
I agree with it. San Francisco has a
is
lot
the
of
most
talent,
talented team in the
league.
league.
You have to have a decent quarterback. It doesn't have to be all world. Obviously, they proved that, right?
In that offense, yes.
In that offense. So, I don't think... I'd say Sam Darnold was insurance policy. I don't think that they planning on him starting. I think they're looking for either Purdy or... what's his name? The other guy,
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, to come through and be the starting quarterback.
You think he can do it though?
I think certainly Brock Purdy can if he's healthy. Played really well when he was out.
How do we know that's not a Cinderella run though?
No, you don't know for sure, but he did have 8 games where he won all 8 of them, and he played.
Fair.
He played very well. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over much. He managed a couple touchdown passes in every game, and he had a decent percentage completion. He played well out there, I thought, for a rookie. Very well.
I would say I was impressed with the way, with the way Brock Purdy played, but we got to realize he's playing on a team like that.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. I mean, but he didn't muff it up. He didn't screw it up.
It's very hard to screw up that offense.
Yeah, well,
very
it's
hard.
Possible. It is possible to do. The quarterback handles the ball on every play.
Well, of course, it's
He
possible.
can fumble it. He can throw an interception.
Right.
Right. He can misread and incompletion. He can make a lot of mistakes if he's without trying very hard. He can make a lot of mistakes.
So I think we're going to our next topic,
Okay.
where we're talking about we each are going to rank our top 5 NBA players who are under the most pressure entering this postseason. The postseason's coming up in a couple weeks here. So who do we think has the most to prove right now? I'm going to start off with my first pick. Number 5 is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, he's been now part of 4 teams. We're talking about he's been with the Cavs, he's been with the Celtics, he's been with the Nets, and now he's with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, he won with LeBron James, albeit phenomenal achievement. You won your NBA championship. You finally brought a title to Cleveland. You went over to the Celtics. You promised, if they are going to sign me back, I would love to be here. You bailed out on the first chance you got. You underperformed. You went to the playoffs. You could really do nothing in the playoffs. You didn't play as well as you probably could have in the playoffs, especially coming out of your tenure with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then you go over to Brooklyn with your man KD. And you went away for the team for personal issues, didn't even tell the team. You had your own shtick. You got mentally upstairs, you were sort of checked out. You even said that, basketball is not your number one focus in life right now. So you do you, Kyrie. But here you go. You're with the Dallas Mavericks. You're going to a team with Luka Doncic. And here's the funny part. With your trade, the Nets actually have more wins than you do. And I would think the Mavericks are actually a more talented team than the Nets. But like I said when this first came out, I don't think this connection would work. So Kyrie, going to the playoffs, I want to see how you and Luka do. Because you guys are not really good defenders. So show me you can win a playoff series or more. Because this team, they went up and beat the Saints in 6 games. And then lost to the Warriors. So can you get past that? Can you make another Western Conference Finals like they did last year? I want to see it. Show it to me. So Kyrie's my number 5 for most pressure right now. But let's go to my number 4. It's Kevin Durant. Sort of the same thing. You go to OKC. Your best chance was you actually made it to an NBA Finals. You lost. Then you go up against the Warriors. You're up 3-1. Then you lose in that 3-1 series. Then you join that team the following year that beat you in that 3-1 series. You win. You go to 3 straight finals. You win 2 of them. You probably and could have won that third one if you and Clay don't get hurt. Then you go over to Brooklyn with your man Kyrie, and it is probably the most disappointing formation of a team and most underwhelming team probably in the history of the NBA. Then, first of all, that was your chance.
I would say that if Kevin Durant was given true serum, he would say, I never should have left the Warriors.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. But he wanted to prove himself.
Probably have 3 more championships if he'd stayed with them.
That's pushing it, but I do think he has 3 championships.
He'd probably have 2 more.
Yeah, you had the. Are you giving the Raptors one if he stays healthy? Or are you saying after he gets hurt in the Raptors series, they go back to 2 more after that?
No, I'm saying he would have gotten 1 last year, right? Because they beat the Celtics. He would have been with the team, and they probably would have still beaten the Celtics.
Right.
And then he would have gotten 1 other. He would have gotten 1 other at least.
Right. So, but my point is, you went with Kyrie to sort of be the leader of the Nets. This is your chance to, because the Warriors was always Steph's team. You want to go over to the Nets to really be the leader of that team. And like I said, it was the most underwhelming and disappointing team probably in NBA history. Now you're going over. You may consider it ring chasing again because this Suns team had the most wins last year. And now you're joining forces with Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker, who already made it to an NBA Finals and went 6 games with the Milwaukee Bucks. So now, while you are probably the most talented player, I'm definitely going to say you're the most talented player on the Suns, where's your availability? The last time you really played a lot of games was at the end of January, middle to end of January. You've played 3 games in about 2 months.
Yeah, he's been good when he's been in there, but he hasn't been in many games.
So I want to see. Take
And
this
the way he
Suns
got
team
hurt,
to a finals.
the way
Take
he-
it to a championship.
The way he got hurt was a fluke thing, too. He was just warming up for the game, and he twisted his ankle.
His legs are like, dowel rods.
I know, they're
They're
skinny.
very, very thin.
Yeah.
So
and he's
Kevin
out
Durant,
for 2 weeks, 2
He's out
to
for 2
3 weeks.
He's out for basically the rest of the regular season.
Yeah.
So Kevin Durant, take this team to an NBA Finals. Take him to a championship because you right have 4 players who have all been to an NBA Finals.
I
And
think
you are
it's
the only
gonna
one
be-
that has won one. You've won multiple and won NBA Finals and MVP in both of them.
I think it's going to be hard for him to get him to the finals because they won't have any chemistry working together, He's just going to be there for the playoffs. It's going to take them a while to get it together. They better have a weak team in the first round. So that
They're
they can
very
get
top heavy. That's the problem. They're very, very top heavy. Even when you went to that NBA Finals with the core 3 of CP3, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker, you still had a Jay Crowder and a McCall Bridges who were sort of your bench guys to, not the core 3. You're now top heavy with not much bench. I believe you had, I believe his name is Cam Johnson, also on your bench. So you don't really have, you're top heavy. So outside of you 4, what else you got? But I'm saying, Kevin Durant, here's your chance to prove us wrong. My number 3 choice is the Celtics' big 3, meaning Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. The Celtics have been trying to win with this core set of players for years now. I believe it's been half a decade, probably even more, trying to win with this core 3 players. There were rumors last season and even this season that they were trying to trade Jaylen Brown and try to acquire Kevin Durant. Well, that didn't go through clearly. So now here's your chance. You made it to an NBA Finals last year, and because of your inexperience, the Warriors outcoached you, outsmarted you, and outplayed you on the defensive end and on the offensive end. Now the Warriors look terrible. The problem is you're not playing great defense. So here's what you guys need to do. This core 3, if this core 3 does not win it all this year, which they very well could, if this core 3 doesn't win, I think it's time to break up this experiment and try to fill in some sort of missing gap because there clearly is one. If you can't win with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, where you've tried for probably near a decade now. About a half a decade, I want to say. Closer to half a decade than a decade, but...
Half a decade.
Were they drafted in 2018, 2017, I think?
Hasn't been a
Well,
full decade.
yeah, so about half a decade. You take these 3, if you guys don't win it all this year, I think it's time to try to find that missing link to get you guys over the hump because you got out-coached. You were now you have experience in the finals. You swept the Nets. You went to Game 7 with the Bucks. Who was the other opponent? Oh, you went to Game 7 with the Heat. You were through the trenches through two series last year where you went to 2 Game 7s. You start off great against the Warriors and couldn't stop Steph Curry. I want to see. Jason Tatum needs to be more consistent. Jaylen Brown's a perfectly fine player. And Marcus Smart needs to be... He's a great defender. Needs to be a little hot with the shooting. He can go a little cold, but Celtics big 3 is my number 3. You have to go win a championship to make this work. Otherwise, you got to break it up. My number 2 is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, this is your time. With LeBron out, it looks like the report is that if you don't perform and lead this team to the playoffs, or at least the play-in tournament, that the Lakers will probably move off of you. You're not available. You have, if we're not including KD's full missed season due to the Achilles, you have the most missed games in recent memory, in the past 3 years, I believe. So, this was basically LeBron was going to hand you the torch to the Lakers, and you were supposed to lead this team after LeBron either leaves the team or retires. And it looks like you haven't been available to do this. AD, you could say a lot of things for AD. Always disappointing. Atomic disaster. Mine's always down. You're never available. You're always hurt. So here's your chance. If you don't want to, be traded away from the Lakers going into next season, prove that you can lead this team to the playoffs and see what they do. Because LeBron will come back. LeBron will come back. He was just shown without a walking boot this past game. I believe who they play. Was it the Knicks? I believe they played, and you lost to the Knicks. You got to be like a 25-10 guy, 25-12. I think you put up 16 points and 15 rebounds, something like that. You got to perform, or else you're not going to be on the Lakers anymore. And my number one pick, the soon-to-be 3-time MVP, the first guy since Larry Bird to do it, 3 straight MVPs. Here's your time to shine. Jokic, you're a 3-time MVP guy, or you will at least be. Even though I don't think you deserve it this year. Embiid has been a better player. You versed Embiid and got absolutely decimated by Embiid. It looks like now the Nuggets are sort of dropping off a little bit. They've lost, I believe, the past 3 games. You know, you start off, I think it was 27-0. The Nuggets were when you had a triple-double. And now it doesn't look like that way anymore. The Nuggets are taking a step back, and it looks like the 76ers are being as consistent as they can be. You have one more win. You are a half win above the 76ers, and yet Embiid is not getting the credit he deserves for MVP. There's only been 3 other players that have been putting up points as much as Embiid is this year. I believe it's Kobe, it's Michael Jordan, and I'm forgetting the third player, but it's James Harden. And then it's Embiid. Those are 3 players that are putting up I think he has 33.4 points a game this season. It's ridiculous. Embiid in the past 3 games, I believe, is averaging about 25 or under 25 points a game.
It'd be nice if he had more talent around him.
Hey, Jamal Murray's a perfectly fine. I mean, he doesn't shoot that well, but he's like a 16-5 guy, 16-6 guy. Aaron Gordon's playing pretty well for who he is. I think he's averaging 16-4. Then you got what's his name? Michael Porter Jr. I think he's a 15-5 guy, 15-6 guy. So it's not like you have bums around you.
They brought in what's his name? The guard. You just mentioned his name.
Jamal Murray?
No, the other guy. He's an all-pro guy.
I just said it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I said Jamal Murray. I said Michael Porter
Who's the
Jr.
other guard that plays for the shooting? He's a shooting guard. He was with the Nets, and then they traded him then he went to the 76ers. He was with the Houston.
James Harden?
James Harden.
He was never on the Nuggets.
Not the Nuggets. I said the Nets.
He
was with the Nets.
Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to step up more.
Well, you're gonna get to your picks though. These are my picks.
I know.
I'm saying.
I know, but
Jokic,
in terms of
do something.
Of Embiid, getting to the finals, I think the supporting cast needs to play better.
Well,
you can't do it with one guy.
LeBron did it with one guy, but LeBron, I mean, I guess it's unfair comparison. He's probably the greatest of all time here.
Yeah.
But he still did it. He carried that bum team to the final. He did get swept in the finals, but he did lead that team to the finals. So it's not that it can't be done. I mean, Jokic, he's putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers now. And Wilt's unbelievable. So, Jokic, do something in the playoffs. Win a series. Win a couple series. Do something. And what's funny is, I think not a lot of people would disagree that any team in the playoffs could probably beat them in the first round. No matter who they go up to. The Lakers, Dallas, Minnesota, the Warriors, Clippers, Phoenix, Memphis, Sacramento.
Who are the big players that they have around him? Jokic. Around Jokic. Who's their best player? The other player besides him?
Probably Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. Either one of those. And I believe it's Jamal Murray who people love because in the bubble he averaged 40 in the playoffs, something like that. So, I mean, it's not like he has bums. And these guys are averaging about, 15, 16 points a game and about 4 to 6 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
So they're not bums. I mean, they're not at the level of having a 1-2 punch like a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown, but, I mean, these guys aren't bad. So, for instance, LeBron was playing with bums when he made it to the finals, but basically by himself. He had no Kyrie. He was playing with a not great James Harden at the time. That team was a mess. Absolute mess. Jokic is playing with some pretty decent players. So, and he's going to be a 3-time MVP. The first guy since Larry Bird to do it. So, I'm saying Jokic, step it up here. You have a chance. And I think he's the only guy, I guess the Nuggets are the only team that any team in the West that's going to make the playoffs could beat this team if they were the 8 seed going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Only team in the first round to beat them. I don't think I get a lot of pushback for that. I think anyone would agree. Right now, Dallas is the 8 seed. I think people would say Dallas could beat them in a 7-game series. Minnesota, the Warriors, the Clippers, Phoenix, Memphis, or Sacramento. That went from 8 to 2 up there.
They may not get out of the playoff round.
You mean the What do you mean the playoff round? The first round?
Their number what?
The
They're number one right
the
now.
Nuggets
right?
are number one. So they
Who's
would,
number 8?
right now it's Dallas.
You think Dallas could beat Denver?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jokic doesn't play defense. It would be no defense versus no defense.
I guess Dallas needs to get into the playoffs, so right.
Right.
I mean, they have to win in that little mini playoff series.
Because right now the potential 8 seed, 7 and 8 seed, goes to either OKC, Utah, Dallas, or Minnesota. That's from 10 to 7.
Yeah.
So any one of those teams could fill in the last 2 spots. So who knows what's going to happen? But these are my 5 players that are under pressure.
Those are good choices.
Who have something to prove. Each of them, actually most of them at least, need to. Anthony Davis needs to at least lead his team to the playoffs because he's going to get traded next season. Jokic needs to win at least one playoff series if he's going to be the 3-time MVP. Kyrie needs to do something with Luka. Durant needs to lead his team to the finals, and the big 3 need to win one.
Yeah.
So those are my top 5 players who need to prove something.
Those are good choices.
You go with your top 5 now. Number 5.
Number 5 is Draymond Green. And I put him in here because of what he did in the preseason when he punched out Jordan Poole. And I think that upset the team chemistry. It was a weird thing. The other players couldn't believe it happened. And I think it carried over into the regular season. And I think it has something to do with their terrible road record. So come on, Draymond. Step it up. Be a team player. Be supportive of your teammates. Get in there and make a difference. Number 4.
Number 4.
Kyrie Irving, for all the same reasons that you said. I think he's a prima donna, and he needs to show some guts. He hasn't had any guts since he played for the Cavaliers. And that's when, in those games, he really played well. And that gave him a reputation as being a superstar. And he's been just very sporadic in terms of his play since then. And his off the court antics are a distraction. So he needs to focus, no off court distractions, get in there, team up with Doncic, and make a difference. Number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3 is Joel Embiid. And for a lot of, I have a lot of respect for him. He's having a great season. I don't think he has James Harden hasn't really stepped up the way he needs to be the great. You really need 2 great players, 2 or 3 great players to go deep into the playoffs. I feel bad for Embiid because I feel like he doesn't have that second piece that you can really count on when the chips are down.
You could argue
but
Harden.
He is. I do think he should be a MVP candidate, and he needs to really show it in the playoffs, and he has in the past, and they've still lost. So. I think the other players have to step up around him. He has to find a way to help make those other players better.
I'm going to put this out here right now. So, Basketball Reference here has Embiid at a 12.1% chance to win MVP.
It's crazy.
Jokic has a 63.4% chance.
Yeah. Who others have?
Giannis is number 3 at 6.9. James Harden is at 4.9, and Luka Doncic is 3.6.
James Harden is in there.
He's averaging, I think, 20 and 10. I think this year.
Yeah.
Let's see. He's averaging 21 points, 10 assists, 6 boards. He's on basically 40% 3-point shooting. So he's been pretty good, actually, especially recently.
Yeah,
but
he needs to step it up more.
My lasting memory of Embiid in the playoffs is when Kawhi Leonard hit that buzzer beater against them in Game 7 to lead them to beat the Warriors in the finals. Yeah, so that's my lasting memory. Oh, and besides the Ben Simmons deciding not to shoot that layup and then that whole thing that happened at the end of it. But
yeah.
Let's go with your number 2.
My number 2 is Chris Paul. And assuming that Kevin Durant can get healthy enough to play in some games, which will probably be in the playoffs, so there won't be any time for any chemistry or anything. It's up to Chris Paul to be the court general out there and direct the ball to the right place and bring the Suns to a chance of advancing and perhaps getting to the finals. And they have the talent, but they're going to suffer from the chemistry part of it because, they aren't going to have the time to play with Durant, which would have been, they would have had enough time hadn't he got hurt now. He's hurt for a couple of weeks. So Chris Paul has got to the finals there. Was it last year, the year before?
It was 2020.
Yeah, and
Or
Too bad.
was it 2021?
Yeah. And too bad. They had the chance to win it all, and they didn't. So he's the guy. He's the field general out there.
Point guard.
Point guard, and he needs to make it happen for the Suns.
Yeah. And your final pick, the guy with the most pressure and something to prove, is
Jason Tatum. And you put all three of those players up there.
I did, the big three.
You can argue that too, but this is their year. They got to do it. If they don't win it all this year, I agree with you. They're going to have to take a look at what they're doing and decide whether they need to make a change or two. But he's the guy for them, and he had over 100 turnovers in the playoffs last year, set a record. He came up small in the finals. And didn't play up to his capacity, up to his expectations. This is the year he's got to do it. You got to play up to your expectations in every series and get the Celtics to the final and get them over the hump to win one.
I will say this about my pick with Jokic. Jokic lost, or I guess the Nuggets lost to the Spurs. The Spurs are 17-50, and you have to look at some of those. The viewers need to look up some of those highlights. I'm sure people have seen it. The Spurs were blowing by Jokic. Like he wasn't even there.
Yeah, well, sometimes they have an off night.
Don't play defense. He doesn't play defense.
Sometimes they have an off night.
Well, if you're going to be 3-time MVP, you can't have many off nights. And now the Nuggets are slowly slipping. They've gone in a couple losing streaks there.
We'll see.
But I think it'll be interesting. But I think that does wrap up this episode of the Harvey Hour. It's been a good episode. A little bit of a long episode, one of our longer episodes here, about an hour and 45 minutes. An hour 15 minutes. But I think this will be the end of it.
It's a time change. Maybe it's a time change. We advance the clocks an hour.
I didn't even notice that, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't even
You didn't
notice.
know that, huh?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But hey, daylight. I don't pay attention to daylight saving. Was that
Didn't
supposed
you
to
notice the sun goes down later today?
Was it supposed to be today?
Yesterday? No, it was yesterday. It was Saturday night.
Seriously, I didn't even notice.
You didn't know it?
That's the thing.
Come on.
What, I don't follow this. I don't look up when's daylight savings time.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
When's the next one? Do you know what the next? Do we have to we put the clocks backwards or forwards for this one?
This was forward.
Forward. So when do we set it back?
Spring forward, fall back. Yeah. So in the fall, it will go back an hour.
That's a good one. Spring forward, fall
back.
I
Yeah.
like that. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, that'll be it. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. We will catch you guys Friday. We're bringing back QB or not to be.
There'll be a lot of football to talk about on Friday.
Absolutely. We got QB or not to be, the second rendition of that coming back on Friday. But
We'll know for sure what's happened to Aaron Rodgers by then. I'm pretty sure.
Hey, you hope so. But quick thing, Celtics are playing tonight. We're gonna get some quick semi bets in right now. Let's go with this. The Celtics. I'll bring up the matchups here. Warriors are playing the Suns tonight at 10 p.m. on ESPN. Who do you got for that one?
Where are they playing?
They're playing at home, and they're favored. I'm shocked by this. -4.5 for the Warriors. Again, the Suns have blown them out 3 straight times. Who do you got?
Warriors.
You're getting the Warriors. I'm picking the Suns +4.5. Celtics -13-point favorites against. I'm getting the record up right here. Against the 15-52 Houston Rockets.
I'll take the Celtics.
You got them covering 13, though? You got them covering? And just because we talked about Kyrie, Memphis favored by 4 on the road without John Moran against the Dallas Mavericks. Who do you got in that game?
I'll take Memphis.
Very interesting. Okay, so there it is. And also, I'm assuming you're going to take Sacramento because you want the Celtics to get hopefully or be a half game out at least.
Yes. They need to get back into that
Actually, they are 1.5 games behind Milwaukee. They could jump in first place if Milwaukee loses. The Celtics win tonight.
Not
right?
for one.
It'll be
a half game. Still be a half game.
No, because didn't the Bucks lose? Was it yesterday, or the day before? I thought
if it's 1.5 right now, and the Celtics win and the Bucks lose, then it's going to be a half game. Bucks. They'll have a half game advantage.
Because they're 2 games. Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey.
See you Friday.
Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.